Honestly, I haven't scrolled on Twitter like this since probably lockdown. Desperate for any kind of information, like that one scene in Harry Potter where Ron is listening to the radio hoping not to hear his family's names being read out. Honestly, I'm looking at Fortnite on my desktop like it stood on my grandfather's grave. It felt like Fortnite finally turned a corner in the last few months, but all of that expected hope was snatched from our bosom. And did our grand leader Tim Sweeney have any words of encouragement with the 1,000 people he let go, who effectively would have tens of thousands of people relying on their supports? Not really, he just had a glorified LinkedIn post. In the coming days, employers will see a stream of resumes for once in a lifetime quality folks. An important thing to understand is that Epic never lowered our hiring standards as we grew, and the layoff wasn't a performance-based right-sizing as companies call it nowadays. It's a sound bet. Now everyone with Epic Games on their resume is in the top few percent of their discipline. So giving the best to your direct competitors is a sound bet. In that email you sent out to employees yesterday, you said that what we now need to do is clear. Build an awesome Fortnite experience with fresh seasonal content, gameplay, story, and live events. And the guy responsible, or was responsible for stuff like that, was let go yesterday. Don't know how they're going to do that without me, but okay. Tim Sweeney was only boasting a year ago that he had the money and the capabilities to fight Apple and Google for decades. Tim Sweeney thinks that the lawsuits are an investment for Epic's future, but on your crusade, if you end up impaling yourself on your own sword to fight Apple and Google, was it truly worth it? My thoughts go out to the people at Epic Games who have lost their jobs, and to the people who remain at Epic Games must be feeling some sort of survivor's guilt. Why wasn't it me? Honestly, an awful position to be in. But the root to all this evil is Tim Sweeney. Tim Sweeney back in January liked this tweet that 2026 would be the year of Ballistic. It indeed was the year to end the game. I really don't know, I can only suspect the timeline here. Like, did he know back then that games would have to be cut, and I suppose staff would have to be eventually laid off? I'm not entirely sure, but he must have had an inkling that things were about to happen. And talking about these metaverse game modes, and indeed UEFN itself, it doesn't help the creators in UEFN, the ones trying to create good experiences, when the tools are not available for them to make these maps. And we can't just get rid of UEFN at the moment. UGC is 50% of the player base. Yes, at the moment it's more 60-40 because the season's good. It's early days, but that number will start to dwindle as the season progresses and more players will mix their times between Epic Game modes and UGC. As much as I understand the hate for UEFN, these so-called brain rot maps, you can't deny the fact that it's holding 50% of the player base and possibly holding 50% of the revenue. That people playing these creative maps are spending money in the item shop and spending money on battle passes. Still doesn't explain why they can't reduce the payout now. Obviously Epic Games are taking a bit of that money, of course, because they are taking a share of that, because they are themselves a developer. But anyway, I'm kind of getting off the subject of why I'm probably doing this video, is that this is obviously going to leave a mark on not just the people who lost their jobs, which obviously is a whole different thing, but the players as well. The talk of boycotts, the talk of not now being invested in a game that just ripped the soul out of the game essentially. And I'm feeling that. I streamed yesterday and obviously the whole stream conversation was about these layoffs, of course. And probably for the next month's stream that will keep reverberating. And that's correct. The ramifications of these actions should be reverberating around the community and the industry for months to come. Although, of course, a more negative approach to spending money on a game will lead obviously to more losses for Epic Games, in hope they revert these changes, and honestly they're not going to do that. So it does leave us at a real crossroads of where do we as a community go, where is Epic going to go. There is a meeting I believe scheduled for tomorrow, a company-wide meeting with Tim Sweeney being present, and to talk about a roadmap of where he wants the company to be going, and whichever approach they decide to go with could really decide where the game goes from here, and will decide where the game goes from here. And after I said it before, Tim Sweeney's tweet yesterday, I'll say it again now, I think it's time over for Tim Sweeney as Epic CEO. Now, someone in one of my videos said, Tim Sweeney is the owner. Do you know that? I'm like, yeah, I'm aware, but you can still step down as CEO and allow someone else to take the helm with a new direction, a new narrative on how things should be done, and hopefully continue this great communication which we've had with Epic Games developers at the moment, currently. But what's my personal preference of where do I go? Now, through Chapter 5 and Chapter 6, I have called Epic out when they need to be called out, in my opinion, and defended them when I felt like they needed to be defended. I don't try and manipulate what I say. I don't delete tweets and then say the opposite and then try and claim that I've always said the thing that I didn't say originally just to think that I'm some righteous guy who's going to glide into a room or something. That is not me. I still think the Fortnite metaverse done right has the potential. Today I've already seen a few tweets of people developing and creating some really cool and unique things, but unfortunately Epic Games is not giving them the platform and able to push those maps and those designs and creations into the algorithm. And Epic has to rectify that. And they have to give them the tools. And are they now going to be able to do that by letting 1,000 members of staff go and leaving them with, I believe, 3,000 members of staff who are probably already stretched quite thinly? I am annoyed about V-Bucks being introduced to creative. I am annoyed by the fact that V-Bucks have increased, and I will continue to argue against that, but I am by no means going to throw my toys out the pram and completely lose my composure and just make this a silly rant video where I get none of my points of view across. I do not want to be the guy who just shouts the loudest. Don't confuse my calmness for weakness, or my attitude to somehow fabricate some sort of thing that I support Epic Games. I'm not going to defend the company, but I am going to go, well, I understand what you're saying by saying you'll want to get rid of UEFN, but they hold 50% of the player base. If you can try and give me some facts and figures that says that Fortnite BR would replenish all those numbers back, then please tell me. Like the argument about there's too many collabs in Fortnite. I would love to be able to access the figures and the stats on those collabs to go, every single one has made a loss. If a collab cost Epic Games £750,000 and it made £250,000, they're obviously making a loss. But are some of these collabs actually making money? The case could be that the original skins are actually making a loss. The design process going through, because obviously you're not copying, but obviously the infrastructure on a collab is there to be able to market it better than an original skin. An original skin, you have to build up that lore, build up that suspense, which the Ice King and the Foundation this season has. So when you're starting out with an original skin, there is a risk that that will just not resonate with players more than a collab skin that is ready to almost go. So when I keep seeing these tweets that they've released more collab skins than original skins, maybe ask yourself, is there a reason for that? Hey, if Epic Games are trying to flog a dead horse, then fair enough. I've no problem of saying that I may be misinformed. But it's easier to interact with new players coming into the game, even if they didn't come into a game for the reason of, say, Terminator. The moment that Terminator skin comes back into the item shop, they're like, oh my god, but it's Terminator. I buy that. If some random Amy skin came into the shop, or Chloe, who? That will solely be on the basis of if the skin is cool or not, rather than, oh wow, that's Back to the Future. Oh wow, that's Star Wars. Oh wow, that's this. Instant gratification on a skin. So I can understand if that's their business strategy. And yes, maybe it is losing money on some of the collabs, but are most of them making money? And that's just me adding a point. Don't confuse that with me supporting Epic. I'm just trying to better clarify an argument point. Same with, is UEFN maps actually bringing players in and keeping them in the game longer to spend money on the game? Like Epic, I think, a year and a half ago, changed how the system works and the payout system works. It works on if they go to the shop, right? Isn't that what it is? So So yes, Epic will know if money is being spent on the game and then which maps they play after that. So unfortunately, that's probably how Discovery looks because of that reason. That's not me supporting the system or saying anything positive or negative about it. That's just me providing why that thing is why it is. But anyway, the layoffs suck. Tim Sweeney really sucks. I think there was other ways of going about this where you could have probably held on for a bit longer. But it's going to be a rough ride. And I think it's time for a change up the top. Definitely with Tim Sweeney. But guys, if you did enjoy the content, leave a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And until next time, it has been your boy, Mr. JRY. Till next time, bye-bye.